Good evening, everyone. I'm Shannon Rutherford. I'm the town planner for Farmington, and we have our Town Plan and Zoning Commission meeting this evening. I will start with roll call. I have Robert Canto,
Here.
Rogia Afshar,
Present.
David St. Germain,
Here.
Scott Halstead.
Here.
I'll note for the record that regular members Matthew Bandel and Liz Sanford are absent. And we have alternates Bruce Polsky
Here.
and Mike Tucci.
Here.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, great. So a little bit of administrative before we get started. Bruce, are you willing to sit in as a voting member for Liz Sanford?
I am.
Okay, and Mike for Matt?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we can get right into it, I guess. This is the March 10th, 2025 Town Plan Zoning meeting. We've got 3 new business items. First 2 are accepting applications for hearing dates. So for number 1, Eric Stagel, can we get a motion and a second, please?
Sure. I move that we accept the application for special permit and site plan approval for Craft Bird food truck use by Eric Stagel at 17 Depot Place within the C1 zone, property owner being Depot Place Terminal Incorporated, and schedule a public hearing, recommended date of March 24th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to number 2, another application to accept Sweeney Associates LLC.
I'd like to move that we accept the application by Sweeney Associates LLC for a special permit for drilling and blasting for a new single-family home on building lot 8196, 71 Eli Road within the R80 zone, and schedule a public hearing for April 14th, 2025.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, number 3 is a little trickier, so we need to add it to a motion and a second to add it to the agenda first.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we add application for site plan approval by Charles Partners Northeast LLC, 20 Scott Swamp Road, Farmington, for conversion of a nursing home to apartments.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And then the second piece is to deny without prejudice if an extension is not received.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we deny the application for site plan approval by Charles Partners Northeast LLC, 20 Scott Swamp Road, Farmington. Application for site plan approval for conversion of nursing home to apartments without prejudice, to deny without prejudice if an extension is not received.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Done, Dave. All right, we'll move on to our one public hearing tonight. This is the Camp Current application that's continued from the previous meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'm not.
Are we expecting them in the,
I am, because
Okay.
I exchanged emails with them.
oh,
With the attorney anyhow. If there's no objection, perhaps we do go to planner's report and then we can come back, give them a little bit of time.
sure.
Why
don't we do that?
No objection.
Nope.
Yeah. So first item up under planner's report is Westwoods Golf Course. And so this is located in the southwest corner of town. And I can bring this up on our GIS too. We have a new tenant to run the the restaurant as part of the clubhouse. Sorry, trying to find my words and navigate GIS at the same time. So there's a new tenant to run the restaurant portion of the clubhouse. You may have heard Carol's Lunchbox is moving
Oh,
to the clubhouse. So as part of that, we're looking to redo the deck. So actually the deck is going to be removed and going to construct a patio. So the existing timber deck and plantings are being removed. And then a concrete patio is being constructed. It'll be a little larger, so there'll be a little more elbow room considering the additional uses now at the property with not only the golf course, but the
Yep.
pickleball and splash pad. Hopefully provide a slightly more inviting area for folks to consume a little light something to eat, beverage, and then be on their way. So this has been, it is before Wetlands Commission because they are within the upland review of this water course. It's just at the fringe. When you measure 150 feet, it's at the fringe area of the water course that runs through the golf course and heads south. I'm suggesting that perhaps this doesn't really need a site plan review. There's a deck there, it's existing lawn. There will be excavation, obviously, to get level pad and stone in place, and then the concrete patio poured. That's the extent of the work being done. They may at some point either put a railing or use planters to provide a demarcation, which I believe would be required if alcohol is being served on the patio. They'll need some sort of demarcation. I don't believe it's been determined whether it'll be a permanent, again, railing or planters. So planters are an acceptable barrier for the Liquor Commission. So if there's questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, the request is to just allow this, they'll proceed under staff review without a formal site plan application.
Will it continue to be seasonal or will the restaurant be year round, you
No,
know?
my understanding, it'll continue to be seasonal,
Okay.
just like Carl's Hot Dogs had been seasonal.
yep.
Understanding is that's the intent.
What's the hours of operation?
I don't have that specifically. I believe it's still lunch and dinner. They're gonna expand. I know she had not been open at dinner. I believe the intent is to expand, so the food offerings are expanding and the hours are expanding, given the nature of the location.
Well, that's what I kind of figured.
Mhm.
Right.
Would those two trees stay there?
The two trees here, I believe, to the north, I
Yep.
believe so. I believe that's the intent, assuming they're in good health. I also, they could already be gone. I'm using one of the aerial I'm using. This is our 2019 GIS, so I'd have to go to, you know, today's aerial. Some of those may have been when they did the work to extend the sanitary sewer through the property so that we had sanitary sewer service for the splash pad. That sanitary sewer line pretty much comes right through that area. So one or two of those trees may have already been removed, but it
Didn't-
is part of the sanitary sewer.
Didn't they put a kiosk along there? It's like a drink, like,
There is a little in this area. And
Yeah.
that was permitted a couple years ago when
I was wondering if that took
Mm.
some trees with it
Mr.
too. I mean,
Farmer, was running the restaurant.
Mm.
So,
How is the whole splash pad thing coming along?
it is coming. There was a little bit of a delay with the contractor. That's been sorted through and it's continuing to advance. Our guys are going in and doing some of the interior fit out of that. And then, believe Russ indicated it'll be midsummer-ish when the splash pad is ready, I believe is the intent.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the pickleball too?
Pickleball is gonna lag just a bit. It's a little
Oh,
more,
so they're doing the splash pad first?
that's my understanding, yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
no concerns for me.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, sure.
Nine.
I
Okay,
don't think they're coming.
all right, the next one is a little more complex. I'm gonna take you to 402 Farmington Avenue. So our Quarry Road site, I believe the only one that had been on the board at the time this was permitted in May 2021 is Scott. We have a request in for a change in material for the access sidewalk. And there's an access driveway that comes in off of Quarry Road. You know, finicky. So you got Farmington Avenue, you have the Hartford Healthcare Building. And then this is where the traffic signal is. If you make a right turn at this light, you come into Farm Glen and then the extended hotel. If you make a left, you come into the new access road, newly paved access road for that comes into the quarry, but also into 402 Farmington Avenue. And there's a sidewalk on the north/east side of the access driveway. And the original condition of approval in May 2021 is that the sidewalk be concrete, 6-foot concrete walk for town of Farmington standards. And this 6-foot walkway comes all the way down along this edge of the sidewalk and then comes through and there's a crosswalk, so you can come right through the intersection. The PDF's working very lovely this evening.
Lagging a bit.
But you can come around and come through and ultimately then cross Route 4 at the traffic signal. And then the applicant, as part of this approval, installed the sidewalk along the frontage. This one, of course, is going to work just fine. They installed already this sidewalk along the frontage of 1 and 3 Farm Glen. They worked out agreements with that owner. There's a sidewalk agreement, an easement with the town of Farmington. And the sidewalk is installed along the entire frontage now and connects to the existing sidewalk that had been part of Yukon. The specific condition of approval had been in May of 2021. The sidewalks will be contiguous from the development to Yukon Health Center and will be concrete. That was May 2021. In November of 2021, the TPZ approved a site plan modification to allow the installation of the sidewalk along this Farm Glen frontage that's on the screen right now to be 6 feet wide bituminous concrete. Because what we had asked them to do was implement a plan and a sidewalk that had been approved in 2018 as part of a redevelopment project and some expansion that 1 and 3 Farm Glen had contemplated in 2018 and then never advanced. So they didn't advance their project, so they didn't have to put their sidewalk in. So now with 402 going in and the thought being there's connectivity from those residents to Yukon and Jackson Lab, et cetera, that connection needed to be made. So that was made a condition of approval for the 402 application. They came back and asked that they be allowed to put this in as bituminous rather than concrete, because in 2018, the approval says proposed 6-foot wide bituminous concrete sidewalk, see detail and final design to be, coordinated in the field. So the plan that had been approved in 2018 said bituminous. So ultimately the commission was agreeable in November of 2021 to allow this portion of the sidewalk to be bituminous. Again, when it connects into Yukon, it is concrete. So now the request, from the Metro Realty for the sidewalk that's on their property. Some of this is easements, right? This driveway comes through easements. It's part of the state of Connecticut and it's town of Farmington, but there's easements for this sidewalk to go in. Metro will be responsible for installing and maintaining the sidewalk. And they're requesting that this be 6-foot bituminous as well, rather than the concrete. The primary reasons are aesthetics. Kyle feels that it's more aesthetically pleasing, it blends in better, and cost. He was not, did not shy away from indicating that it was cost as well. So that's the request before the commission. And there's a couple ways that this can be addressed. You can decide that this is fine, you have no issue with the request, and we can proceed. I can let the developer know. You can decide that because of the nature and magnitude of the project, you want a site plan modification application and hear from him directly why he feels this change is necessary and should be considered. So that's really the two prongs of this. So I can answer any questions and solicit any feedback so that I can give the developer some direction regarding this request.
So like, I guess kind of a comment and a question, you can probably fill in the gap, Shannon. So this zone, this floating zone that's around the hospital, there was something in the regulation about being able to live, walk, like there's a walking component to, and that was a lot of topic of the conversation in those meetings, if I remember correctly,
Correct.
that being able to walk to the hospital was a key
Correct.
component of that hearing, and challenged by some as to how walkable it was.
Correct, correct. And thus the requirement to put in that, to do. I mean, we couldn't force them to put sidewalk on somebody else's property,
Yep.
so, but we wanted them to go through, every means possible, working with 1 and 3 Farm Glen to get that sidewalk in. They ultimately were successful on that. So yeah, that's why we wanted that extension right over to Yukon,
Yeah.
correct? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a live, work, play with a
Yeah,
higher
uh,
intensity, correct, in this particular area and in the Yukon area and then over in the Batterson Park Farm Glen area.
And I think, because I can't remember back that far, that's part of why the commission at the time voted for it to be concrete, because of the nature of what that area is supposed to look like or supposed to be about.
But yes, that's part of it. And typically it was one of the engineering comments as well. And I think it somewhere through there, they conceded and showed the concrete.
So Shannon, where's the bituminous starting and the concrete ending? Because I'm seeing 6-foot concrete sidewalk on here.
Correct. So this would be, all right, I'm gonna go to an aerial. This is gonna be a little easier. Okay. So this is the access drive here. So this is the traffic signal. This is 1 and 3 Farm Glen. Okay, so this bituminous sidewalk that is here, that's this sidewalk, this is 1 and 3 Farm Glen, right? We just rotated.
Mhm.
So traffic signal, this sidewalk is now in and it is bituminous. And that's here along this frontage. And it connects to, you can see the white, there's your
Gotcha.
concrete sidewalk.
Okay.
And then it dived in and there was a little bituminous tail off. And so they picked it up here and they brought, so all of this is in all the way up through, and we've got a sanitary sewer line and there was rock, there's all sorts of fun stuff. And they connected in here around the existing Farm Glen sign.
Yep.
And right now it ends here, and then this all connects. Basically now it connects all the way into the medical center. There's a network of sidewalks all the way through into the medical campus with 599, et cetera. So now traffic signal, we're gonna cross through the crosswalk. And this here is showing on that next plan. And then the sidewalk comes all the way up. It's the north/east side of this access road. And then into the development for 402. And that's here. So now we're picking it up on this side, traffic signal. Farm Glen is here off the bottom of the page. Here's your traffic signal. You cross your crosswalk. You're gonna come up this side. There's a little crosswalk here because this is the genome facility. You're gonna come around a landscape feature and then come along this access drive, and my PDF is not gonna reach out.
And all that is going to be bituminous after that little land.
Well, that's the request.
That's their request.
Right.
That's the current request. So right now, that's what the current request is tonight, is for this sidewalk that's on the Quarry Road side of this intersection. Because that's not in yet. So it will
And-
be all the way up and into the development then.
And that's a hill, that's an incline
It is.
from Route 4 up to
Correct,
where 402 is located. Yeah,
correct.
trying to remember all this now.
Yep, no.
So
but
they're not
that's-
actually touching each other.
Correct,
it's
they've
just
got the
more of-
road in between.
Yeah.
You've got the road in between. There is no seam, if you will, like they have down and at the Yukon
Right.
farmland property line, correct? Nope, so it's a crosswalk and then comes up and into the property.
So what's the difference between the two materials?
Well, the bituminous asphalt, it's a bituminous asphalt blacktop sidewalk. It'll be the same width. It's the bituminous section typically isn't quite as thick versus a poured concrete white sidewalk. So bituminous is a black surface
Hmm.
and the concrete has a white surface.
And
The
Shannon could tell
concrete
me
is
I'm
more
crazy,
the-
but I've always assumed that the bituminous requires more maintenance over time than the,
It's debatable, yeah.
Mhm.
So Shannon, what's our specs on the concrete in town? Is it 4 inches or 5 inches? 5?
I think it's 5.
trick question.
It's 5 with the welded wire fabric. I think
Welded
we
wire
go to
fabric, yeah.
6. I think we go to 6 when it's a driveway
Expansion joints
section.
every 15 feet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they'll be, right, all the expansion joints, et cetera. Here, it's right, actually this will zoom in for me, the details here. Five-inch concrete sidewalk, 5-inch on a 6-inch
6
base.
inches base, yeah.
The bituminous is probably 4-inch and there'd be no welded wire fabric in it.
I thought I saw 2 inch on there.
For the bituminous?
Yeah,
That would be on the other
Mhm.
plan. That's a
Think of it
6-inch,
like
so
the-
that
yeah,
says,
like the-
that's a
the
6-foot
bypass.
Yeah.
bituminous
It's between-
sidewalk.
Like your driveway.
Well, that's the pavement section, so you've
Well,
got
I don't
2
know if
and
it's gonna
2 on the
look like that
pavement.
with the
Right.
stamp That's like stamped. It's just gonna be.
some,
Yeah, I don't
like
have
one
a,
of the
I don't have a
bypass, just
bituminous section on this one.
okay.
The difference between that and the, like I drove down. Route four,
Yeah,
it's all
and these are just the
Like
pavement
all
courses,
concrete
so.
sidewalk. All
Mm.
their color, you know?
And this, when they let them, when they gave them the variance from going from concrete to bituminous, that was almost, I don't want to say a hardship, but that was just kind of to get it in there so that it would get done.
So
And the original spec always said concrete, correct?
for Farm Glen. So Farm Glen had been approved again, so that was approved in 2018 as part of the Farm Glen project. At the time, Bill Warner was looking at this more globally to try to get the pedestrian connection and compromised with the owner to say if you'll put the sidewalk, because it wasn't a brand new development. So the requirement to put sidewalk along the entire frontage wasn't necessarily commensurate with the
As opposed to-
redevelopment request that was being made. So the
Gotcha.
compromise
see the
was
next one down
bituminous
the back.
sidewalk
But-
rather than concrete.
If you do it
Even
all
for that
together with the
location.
sidewalk.
So now, come ahead, three years, that never advanced, but 402 is in, and we want that connection to Yukon. The original approval said concrete from start to finish, blend into concrete.
That's what I'm saying, okay.
They
right,
came back in November, so that was in May.
Right,
They came back in November and said, hey, we've looked at all these design drawings. In 2018, you had conceded to bituminous in
Bituminous.
this location. We respectfully request you allow us to proceed with bituminous.
but the original design specs said concrete to concrete.
There was no design specs for it. It was simply a there was no design for it on Farm Glen.
Hmm.
Ever. It was simply, it was a condition of approval that said concrete from your property over to Yukon. They never did a design plan. The only design plan was this one from 2018.
Gotcha, okay.
And then, of course, they did the design plan for their driveway.
Right,
which
right, right.
is the other. I'm
And
just
you-
texting Bruce to see if he's around, then he'll ask me. He'll answer the bituminous sidewalk thickness. Cause he'll know.
And you said one of the options is for us to have them come in and
Absolutely.
present.
If you think this
Yeah,
is,
let's
you
do
know,
that.
then that's fine. I'll be on, staff is kind of on the fence.
Yeah,
So,
I think if we're on the fence, it'd be nice to hear it then.
Yeah, well,
Hmm.
let's bring
so
him
I
in.
don't, you know, but I told Kyle I'd have the conversation with you. We've discussed it with Russ. Russ doesn't have a strong opinion. He's okay with it going bituminous. I'm okay with it going bituminous. you can go back and forth with
Pros and
respect
cons
to
on
the
both.
aesthetics. There's pros and cons to both, the aesthetics. So it's, there's no harm, the sidewalk's still gonna be there, it's still traversable, they're
Yep.
still responsible for maintaining it. So if it's more susceptible to cracking or heaving, they've got to fix it because it can't be a tripping hazard. So they are still responsible for this. So that it'll still be maintained. It'll still be traversable. They will still put concrete aprons in for the ADA.
Yep.
Because like,
Right.
it's just gonna, to try to do those the aprons, the ADA aprons with bituminous is a little more challenging and get everything to sit properly. So that the aprons would still be concrete, which is pretty typical that we see when you've got a
Hmm.
bituminous sidewalk.
Yeah, I guess the more I hear about it, the less strongly I feel either way too.
Mm.
That's not helping you.
Nobody's paying attention this evening. Bit sidewalk thickness, I got 2 inches as a result,
2 inches, that's what I kind of expected.
so. I'm not surprised.
I mean, coming from experience, because I did it for so many years. The pro to having it in bituminous. I forgot what the aerial looks like is, sun attracts the black, so the ice melts off faster than concrete.
Yeah.
So it's a
That's
little
true.
bit easier to walk and maintain. The con to, well, the pro to doing concrete is it's gonna last longer.
Right.
And be more durable. The con to it is you can't salt it for the first year. It's gonna spall and it's gonna destroy it. So it's a little bit more susceptible to salting and peeling and heaving and all that, where the bituminous flexes a little bit more. So I'm kind of in flipping a coin
The
here.
same
Well,
place everybody is.
It sounds like we need to have Kyle in. You need to have this conversation
right.
with Kyle directly.
Yeah.
Okay, does
Let's
anybody
do it.
else? I know we kind of only got like halfway around, so I don't know if there's any other questions or thoughts, but
No, I'm with the idea of bringing him in
okay,
for sure. Let's have the conversation and
okay.
see where it
So
takes
not
us.
opposed, but you want to, and he'll be
We
able
haven't
to
seen
listen to
Kyle
us
in a
'cause
while,
the
so.
recording is running, so.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
We haven't seen Kyle in a while, so.
Right.
So he can come in and.
Tell him we
join
miss
us
it.
On the 24th then. Okay, I'll let him know and I'll let him know he can listen to this so he understands at least a starting point of some of his questions and talking points. So,
That's it.
Sounds good.
all right, thank you.
All right. Good for
All right.
now. We'll go back to
We
agenda.
can Go back to our public hearing.
Actually, before we move on, is there any sense on what the cost differential is? Is it vast?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
20 times or something
I wouldn't go 20, but
Almost no developers want to do concrete
concrete? Because it's
because of the cost.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a noticeable cost
Yeah.
differential.
so huge incentive on their part to.
Yes,
It is, and as to his point,
understandable.
they've put that money in other areas with landscaping and buffers and fences, et cetera, which is all some of the things that they needed to do and were required to do as part of their approval.
Right.
For having, there's rights and responsibilities, right? So, privilege of being able to develop at that location, then there were responsibilities that went with that, but those are additional costs and whatnot. So, but we'll let Kyle speak to that and he can address those
Sure.
questions for you.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
all right.
All right. Anything else on that? Good. All right. Back to our public hearings. Camp Curran's back from a continued hearing from our previous meeting. Welcome back.
Thank you. Ryan Hoyler, Robinson and Cole for Camp Current again for the record. Thank you. Sorry, I was a couple minutes late. I saw it was like fourth on the agenda. I thought I had a couple minutes there. So we're back. We took your considerations from last time into account and we got in touch with Shannon to produce kind of a little updated chart that will hopefully provide a little bit more detail. And I also know that there was a chart included in your agenda package that that I think is what we're gonna work with this time. And, we went over it. The one thing that we would like to say, and to be clear, I believe my counterparts from Camp Current itself are online tonight. They could not be here in person. They had to go to a conference this week, so they're not in the state, but I do believe they are here online.
Okay, thank you.
So, basically the chart that Shannon put together for the agenda is something that we're okay with. The one thing that we would like to get a little bit of clarity on is with respect to sporting events. Shannon and her team had put in one contract per season. We were thinking, and I don't know that we know exactly how this is going to play out yet because we don't have any contracts and we don't know what that will look like. One thing that we were thinking about was if maybe the girls' soccer teams and the boys' soccer teams play on different days, we would want to have both girls and boys soccer. And I don't know if that would count as one contract or two contracts with the municipality. And the other thing I guess we can think about here as the applicant is because we don't know exactly how this will look, this is something that, we can come back to you maybe in 6 or 9 months or a year once we have an idea of how this will look and petition to have any modifications made that we think would make sense. So, but otherwise, the conditions that are here make sense to us. 8 to 10, have lights off within 30 minutes of the 10 p.m. hour. No amplification other than the pavilion with the DJ and then what's already there on site for the baseball field. Always have at least one member of staff on site at all times. That's, for any event, that's exactly what Camp Current was already considering. And certainly to have come back to you for review on an annual basis or whatever it is, for at least the first couple of years to make sure that this is working and that there's nothing more that we can be doing to make it work better. So with that, if my counterparts at Camp Current are online and they have anything to say, I guess now would be the time.
I can see Corianne. I've tried to promote her to panelist.
Okay, thank you, Shannon.
I can also unmuted her microphone. So Corianne, if you want to add anything, you should be able to talk now. Maybe.
Uh-oh.
And
Technology from the hotel.
nope, she went to panelist. So
Can
wanna
you
try
guys
that
hear me?
again?
Oh,
There you go.
perfect. Thank you so much. I apologize for not being there. Like Ryan said, we were out of state for a conference this week that we had pre-planned. We're very grateful for him going on our behalf, and we are very grateful for you guys hearing our consideration, and we're hoping that we can move forward to hopefully vote today. And again, we're so applicable to come back to meet with you to review the terms at any time, or if anything else that has come up, if you find an issue, we're happy to work with the committee. We just want to make sure camp's here for the kids. So that's what it comes down to for us. And I know he brought up the sporting things. We do have 36 acres. And so with the sporting contracts and things of that nature, he briefly touched about having multiple boys and girls, or if we have a basketball game going on and then swimming in the pool, they wouldn't be interacting. It would be very separate with how much space we have. So just keeping that in mind too, as things come up. And we want to work with the town. So if there's rec leagues and things that need space, sometimes those seasons overlap. Sometimes things are on Saturdays versus Sundays. So trying to take all of those pieces into account as well.
Yeah, and I think that reflects what I was trying to get across, that I think we want to have a little bit of flexibility with this, but we don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. And I think maybe that flexibility comes from maybe us coming back to you in 6 months or 9 months or whatever, if we have, both one town interested in basketball and one town interested in swimming, and those overlap, and it makes sense for us to open up the pools in the winter because of the swimming contract, then maybe we come back and we have that conversation then.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Good? Okay.
yeah. Otherwise, thank you for listening to us, and we really appreciate the feedback we got last time. So thank you again.
No, and thank you for coming back with us. This was very helpful and much easier for me anyway to digest. So much appreciated. So let's turn it over to commissioners and just see what questions and thoughts they have. Bob, you're up first tonight.
All right. Excellent presentation. I mean, I like the way it's broken down and everything. You brought up a very good point, though. About the one contract per season. I guess I need a little clarification on that. Is it per town? Is it,
So.
like if we're
So
doing
they-
boys and girls, is that?
So
considered
again,
one?
they brought it up, the fact that there was the potential for municipal contracts
Right,
at the last meeting. And in the absence of having any other information, staff, so their chart had 4 categories, right? Business small, personal small, business large, personal large. As part of the agenda review, I expanded it. I kept business small, personal, right? Those 4, but I added on municipal board of education. So that end of school year events, whether it field day or graduation could be considered. And then municipal rec department, sporting events, outdoor existing field and courts. I thought at the last meeting, they'd suggested that the pool's only really open for camp due to the cost of having the pool open.
Right.
Understanding that if a municipality needed it, then that may change.
Right.
That's fine, but I went with what was discussed. And figuring soccer, I suppose during the summer you could have a soccer and basketball camp going, but if it was being used for seasons, then soccer season is in the fall and you have baseball in the spring and they aren't really overlapping, that you're using it. It's a contract with a municipality for soccer. And I was looking at it as one contract with one municipality for a sport per season so that they could fulfill their rec department or whatever other needs they had. And whether it was U10, boys, girls, I was just thinking, hey, New Britain needs extra space, so they're gonna contract with New Britain for soccer for the fall, and New Britain has access to the soccer field for the fall. That
But
was
is
it.
it
I wasn't
count-
gonna get into how many time, it's.
no, I
really
follow you
dawned
on
at
that.
us.
What I'm saying
So-
is like, does boys soccer count as one and girls
No,
soccer count as
I was
another?
gonna do it per, like,
Sport?
per sport,
Okay,
Per town. maybe.
per town.
Yeah.
okay,
And not get into, it's only for this age range, like each contract for each age or in gender. I
Okay.
wasn't
now
gonna
I follow.
drill into that. It was
Yeah.
gonna be a per town, per sport for the season, for the fall. And
Gotcha.
then,
So if they decide to use it for boys one day, girls for another, that's fine.
yeah, that's,
Okay.
And,
I
and-
don't want this to be too onerous for us, because
Yeah.
we're
Correct.
never,
Yep.
we're not policing
Correct.
this on a
Right.
day in and day out basis.
Yep.
And I don't want it to be onerous for them either, but there had to be,
Yeah.
in the absence of nothing, I had to come up with a parameter, so
And we
that was
don't-
the parameter.
we don't have contracts yet, so we don't know exactly what.
Yes,
it's
of
gonna
course.
And I
look like.
think,
We
we
haven't,
can leave it at this, and
you know.
certainly with any of this, and no different than any other special permit, they
Yep.
can come back and
Yep.
say, hey.
Right.
We're having an issue with
Yep.
X, Y, or Z that we had agreed to, this has been going really well, we've been good neighbors, et cetera, but we would like to modify this.
and
We do that all the time, and
Yep.
I think in the absence of having anything more specific.
Yep.
and trying to think it through, I was thinking in my head, the season that occurs to me that there might be overlap the most would probably be the spring, where you might have baseball and lacrosse or field hockey or things like that. Whereas in the fall, you really have soccer, and in the winter, you really have basketball. And if it makes sense for us to open the pools up, then maybe there's an overlap with basketball and swimming. And in the summertime, as Shannon pointed out, the camp's running. So there's not really, a contract season there necessarily. And I don't know, given the timing of things, whether we're going to get anything in the next 4 weeks or whatever we would need for this spring. So I think until we know what those contracts look like when we start having that discussions with town, we don't really know exactly how to lay this out. So I think, we could work with this and then, like Shannon said, come back if we need to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good. I'm willing to take a chance on it. I think they're, they've been good neighbors. I think this is pretty well spelled out, so.
Thanks, Ben.
Same, and no questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the cooperation.
Bruce?
And two, I have nothing new to add.
I have one question, but I wasn't here last week, so you
Of
might have
course.
already answered this. So with the sporting events, are you going to need any additional town services like EMS for big events, or is that something you guys provide like a nurse on?
I don't know exactly how that would work with the towns. I don't know if, when the town contracts with a third party to use a space for sporting events, whether they provide, I would imagine the town would provide whatever kind of necessary, although I guess if we're in Farmington and New
Farmington,
Britain,
so if there was an issue, the whoever responds normally
Right.
to Camp Current would be the responder. Just like no different than at Tungus Mead, typically they're, while our ambulance is normally stationed somewhere in the flats, they aren't there all the time. And so the rec program goes on regardless, they're not necessarily stationed there for the rec program. That's just where they're stationed for that portion of town. So it'd be the same for at the Camp Current location, just whoever the responder is for that location.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, and of course, we would cooperate with them, whatever we needed to do to organize with the town responders if we. needed
Yeah,
to do
and there
something,
wouldn't
we
be a
would-
tournament. There's at most 2 soccer fields there, depending on how they stripe that out based on the area. So it was really just for practices and overflow type use.
Good, Mike? So I think I just have one question, and it's probably nitpicky, but I'm trying to think through all the logistics, just like you all have been. Is there a chance that there could be more than one of these events on any given day going out at the same time? And like, I assume you're not going to have 2 like 100+ people events. That's
Right.
probably not going to happen just logistically, but
Right. Yeah, I do think there could be a chance that you might have maybe 2 small business events on
Yeah.
the same day that are doing indoor meetings,
Yeah.
25 people here and 10 people there. That's a possibility. But certainly when you start to get larger than that, there's really only so much space.
yeah, true.
So
Yep.
I don't think you would
Okay.
see more than that.
Okay, appreciate that and appreciate everything that you put together here. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, I have one thing.
Yes, please.
So there was an offer in the initial report to, if desired, Camp Current will provide a biannual report of third-party events to the town.
We'd be happy
Yeah,
to continue
still-
that.
I think that makes
That I think
sense.
I'd like to do it, at least initially, so that
Yep.
we get a sense onto
Yep.
what this is looking like.
Yep. And certainly
and-
based on tonight's conversation and all the
Yeah.
questions that are still out there.
Right, and it could be as simple as just expanding this table that's up.
Right.
You already have the number of events and the parameters and just put a column from, whatever, January to June and then July to December. I don't want to, again, the intent isn't to make this complex and onerous, but just a general sense, which I'm assuming the folks at Camp Current are going to be doing anyhow. So they
Of
have a
course.
general sense on how this is being rented out and how the revenue, how successful different categories are.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd be happy to do that and absolutely can come up with a format that's easy for you to.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, on both sides.
Good.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thanks, Shannon. Any other questions any commissioners have? All right, well, we did leave the public hearing open, so we have one person in the room. Dave, I don't know if you wanted to speak tonight. No. Is there anybody online, Shannon?
So if anyone's called in online to offer comment on the Camp Current application for special events, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom. You'll be acknowledged to address the commission. Again, if anyone's called in regarding the Camp Current application for charitable and philanthropic use for special events, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom to address the commission. Mr. Chair, there's no hands raised.
Okay, thanks, Shannon. So I'm getting the sense that we're kind of all on the same page here. Is there any discussion necessary or everybody's feeling pretty good at this point? If I close the public hearing? All right, I'm hereby closing the public hearing. Can we get a motion in a second, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the special permit by Hartford's Camp Current for charitable and philanthropic institution use for hosting events located at 96 Batterson Park Road, also known as 8017 Batterson Park Road, an R40 zone with conditions as discussed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much. Good luck.
Okay. I did not have anything else for agenda review that hit the two items, so we
Okay.
did that already, 14 Westwoods
Yep.
and 402. So that's all I got for you guys tonight, unless anybody has any. questions.
Anybody have anything for Shane? Good.
Yeah.
All right, can we get a motion and second to approve the minutes?
Sure. What's the date there? I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 24th, 2025 Town Plan and Zoning Commission meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passes, meeting adjourned.